Welcome back to the Celtic Way morning briefing. It is Monday, the 6th of November. Celtic play tomorrow. It's the countdown for that. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Stewart Ross. Stewart, how are you doing this morning, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, Nick. How are you?
Things are good, yeah, things are good. It should be another exciting week of Celtic. You know, Celtic are just coming off the back of a 3-0 win against Ross County. They're going to, I think they're travelling to Madrid. They were either travelling yesterday or today. I think they're travelling today for tomorrow's game. And then they've got Aberdeen on Sunday afternoon as well. So it should be a very, very busy week with everything concerning Celtic. But that's the way we want it. We want to have stuff to talk about and games to talk about for sure. Before we get started, guys, if I could just thank our sponsors as they're always sponsoring us for this video, which is MPH Group. This video is brought to you by MPH Group, which is Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trade specialist covering all of mainland Scotland. Every service you opt for automatically enters into MPH's incredible holiday giveaway. You could win a 7-night stay at the luxurious 5-star Moon Palace Resort in Cancun, Mexico. They also have a winter deal available regarding boiler installation for just $1,795, which includes a free Hive thermostat, free first-year service, up to 12 years of warranty, a magnetic filter included, and flexible finance options from as little as £5 per week. We really appreciate MPH Group sponsoring us. It's Navien Boilers that they use. So if you're looking for any plumbing, heating, kitchens or bathroom work, then please don't hesitate and have a look at MPH Group. All the links are in the description. So Stuart, Saturday was a bit of a weird one because, you know, some of the stats were incredible, but I think a lot of that was down to the fact that Ross County were down to 10 men for a large duration of that game. But still, it was a real attacking force from Celtic from that game. I think the stat was 39 shots at goal in the game, 16 on target. Quite an incredible showing from Celtic on the day.
Yeah, I think obviously context massive in terms of a super early red card for Ross County, but really I think maybe a wee bit of a slog to get there, and you said almost 40 shots there. I think we'll maybe dig into this in a wee bit when we look at shot map and stuff, maybe forcing it a wee bit much, but you know, then we score 2 from long range, so you can't complain too much. But yeah, I think given the draw at Easter Road last weekend, a bit of a not sticky, but you know, just getting over the line against St Mirren, it was probably ahead of Tuesday really good for the manager to have a game where, you know, even at 1-0 you thought there's very little chance that with the extra man that Ross County are going to get back into this. That it was, he had the luxury to, you know, obviously made the changes from the start, but to make further changes in the game and keep people like Alistair Johnson and Matt O'Reilly on the bench and ready for Tuesday night. So yeah, all in all, I think given the kind of amount of games coming up, how we're kind of, you know, maybe had a few sticky performances, I think that's pretty much ideal on Saturday.
Yeah, it was definitely an ideal performance. I thought there was some real standouts in the game from some of the players that came into the team as well. I know Turnbull's been in and out. I didn't think he was that great during the week against St Mirren, but I thought at least for the first 45, 50 minutes, I know he was taken off quite early in the second half because he wanted to change it around. I thought he was really, really good. He was dictating play. His passing was good, and that was a great goal as well from him. I don't actually have the graphic up of Turnbull's goal because I was going to talk in depth about Palmer's howitzer of a strike, but it was a really good strike from David Turnbull. That shot, I think that's his sweet spot. You talk about that, and you talk about that in basketball with certain players having a sweet spot, a place that they're always going to score from. I just think in that semicircle, whenever he gets the ball, when he can do that low shot into the left hand side or the goalkeeper's right hand side, 9 times out of 10 it's going to go in. That's his speciality. That's what he's good at, and he done it again.
Yeah, I think it was probably one of his better performances of the season in terms of kind of all round play. You know, you know you're going to get that from Turnbull, but you know you're looking for the other parts of the game, and again it's hard to assess given against 10 men and stuff like that. But some nice touches in around the box, back, you know, the kind of nutmeg and went through, kind of just a wee bit more, kind of maybe taking a wee bit more risk in his passing. But yeah, in terms of the shot, that's kind of, yeah, like you say, it's his sweet spot. It's kind of trademark, that wee kind of, you know, you see that a few times with some of his goals, the wee kind of drop the shoulder,
shimmy then shot.
Yeah, just to give himself that extra, just to put Dander, kind of, you know, put him off balance, just give him that extra yard to fire it in that corner. So yeah, it's his trademark. And like as much as I said, and when we talk a bit more about that, maybe when you're up against that, 10 men, that really low block, you do need to kind of mix up in terms of taking maybe shots on from longer distance. That obviously worked well and for both goals. And yeah, I think it's interesting in terms of Hatate being out that you've got Turnbull having a good game, getting a goal again. You've got Home coming on as well. Bernardo,
he was really impressive when he came on again.
Yeah, I think it's really up for grabs, that other shirt in the midfield at the moment. It'll be interesting to see who goes well on Tuesday night, tomorrow night. But yeah, I think Turnbull can be, he's been out again. He's out of contract at the end of the season. I think really it's now really make or break. And if Hatate's injuries opened up the door, he has to kind of take this opportunity now, because if he finds himself on the bench more and it's Home, it's Bernardo that get the nod, then you're kind of it's a definite crossroads for him this point. But I don't think he can do any more. I think it's good to see him, kind of putting the fingers in the air and stuff like that. It's showing he's obviously got a bit of fight to stay, and not just in the team but at the club. So yeah, I think interesting to see whether he gets a start tomorrow night, or how much game time he does get.
Yeah, Brown Warrior comes in and says the wee shoulder shuggle shim sham. That's what it was. Definitely from David Turnbull, but he is good at that. He has got that technical ability to just beat his man. He did it very, very slowly, but it's all about getting to the destination, regardless of how long it takes. And he definitely did that. It was a really, really good finish from David Turnbull that capped off a first half that he was doing a lot of the passing in the midfield. I thought McGregor was having a good game as well, and Bernardo. The midfield three didn't look too disjointed. Everything was getting put out to the wide men and Yang and Maeda, who both looked quite sharp on the day. But the midfield certainly did look like it was up to it. Why don't we bring in the shot map from the game? This is definitely something to behold, especially if you do statistical pieces. This very much only happens when a team goes down to 10 men. Either that or Celtic are playing maybe lower league opposition. But I mean, maybe you can't see all of that. 2 wee seconds. I will just take this thing off for a wee second. Where is it? Right, there you go. So you can see just how dominant Celtic were in terms of taking shots. Look at all the shots that Celtic have had in and around both the penalty box and the keeper's smaller box and the goal. The warmer the colour, the higher the XG was, which is the bigger the chance basically in the game. But 2 of Celtic's goals will have been in that blue sort of mark because of them being taken outside of the box. You can probably see, I don't know if you can see it, but if you have a look at the border around the 2, I think it's hexagons or pentagons, then you'll see just how far out those goals were from Palma and Turnbull. But it just shows you, if you've got the ability to hit the ball from that far out, you've got to take the chance, haven't you? Yeah,
I think that's the strength of both of those, Turnbull and Palma. It's one of their strengths. So yeah, they're going to take on these kind of shots. Like I said, not, I think for me looking at that, probably a bit too many from outside the box. I know we're playing a kind of, like I was saying, it was what got the result at the end of the day, but maybe just one, or I think it's a kind of bigger picture kind of thing for Celtic this season. We'll have taken on more long shots. We've got players that are capable, but yeah, you'd maybe just like to be seen working the ball maybe a wee bit more. But then again, there's plenty of shots in and around the 6-yard box there again. And again, it's context of playing 10 men for almost, 90, well, it was 90 minutes given time added on and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I think, to be honest, not too many kind of from the angle, but just some of those ones a bit further back. But yeah, I think when you had, I think you mentioned in your piece about Scales having 5 shots for a centre back, something most of them
bring that up just
open
now.
play.
Yeah, Scales had 5 shots. Bernardo had 5 and O had 6. Somehow O didn't score. I know he did score on Saturday, but at the same time, I don't know how he didn't score with the other chances they had, because those 6 shots aren't taken into account the goal that was ruled out for offside. Yeah, totally, so he basically had 7, which is absolutely incredible. But it wasn't just his goal. I think that's a good point to go on to, because he didn't score on the day, but I thought he was very, very effective in what he was doing. He was always posting up on his man, and was causing causing their defence absolute nightmares, because they'll be used to having Kyogo, used to playing against Kyogo with his smart running. Instead, they've got O that likes to post up to their man, that likes to get physical with players. He's a very strong boy. You can see his upper body strength is definitely something to behold. And yeah, despite having 6 goals and not 6 goals, 6 shots and 0 goals, I thought it was a really good performance from Mo, and he was just desperately unlucky that Ross Laidlaw was playing like a man possessed on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, it was a bit of a battle between the two of them, wasn't it? I'm kind of looking at O for my piece this week, and specifically on Saturday. I think there was maybe the worry that was obviously his first start, but that he's maybe just not. There's been times in Champions League and things that maybe Maeda has been preferred as kind of a second striker when they've went with 2, or when Kyogo's come off, that maybe how far O was kind of from getting more regular game time. But it's really obviously takes a goal really well Wednesday night, and yeah, I thought all round performance. I think when you're up against a team like Ross County, obviously the physicality helps that, but I thought he was coming off the kind of front line really well. You've seen that the very first kind of couple of minutes he comes off, gets in front of, I think it's Baldwin, first touch and then out his feet and out to Maeda out on the right hand side, and the Celtic are on the attack. And then again, kind of second half towards the end, I think that was the one you thought, the shot right at the end that Laidlaw saved off a Kyogo shot. You kind of thought that's you're going to get your reward finally. But again, that come from him dropping off the line, kind of positioning his body really well to take it a touch and then straight through to Kyogo. So yeah, I think the manager was talking about him simplifying his game. I think you could see a bit of that. He's not taking too many touches when the ball's come into him. He had a couple of nice kind of first time ones as well off to Yang. So yeah, really kind of for someone who you weren't maybe sure how trusted he was, I think it's clear he is trusted. And I think he's done himself no harm the last week or so in terms of his performances. And I think it's good for Celtic aren't going to be able to make any changes to the squad until January. There's, I think, I don't know how many games it is in December, but it's always a ton. Pretty much per week.
It's heavily congested. Yeah, absolutely.
You can't expect Kyogo to play start every one of those games. You can't expect him to play 70, 80 minutes. You have to be looking at more at what it was when it was kind of Yakimakis, where it's a 60-30 kind of thing. I think O's more than capable of that. I think it's worth remembering as well, Yakimakis was older, experience in Europe. O's 22. He's come from Korea. I think a big kind of change for him. And you see him kind of with it speaking, doing an interview in English and things like that as well. I think
I love to see that. I absolutely love to see that after the game. I'll be honest with you, it shows that he's putting that effort in.
And going straight up to the manager and that as well after goal last Wednesday. So I think that's probably one of the biggest positives for me was O's performance. And I think you can see if they can start, in terms of simplifying his game, adding wee bits and pieces here and there. He's got, like you say, he's got a lot of the physical attributes that you'd want from a centre forward. That he can, he can get in front of his man, he can hold the ball off. But he, like you said as well, I think your piece in terms of that passing as well, he's got more to his game than maybe, or he's got things to his game that can be built on. I think everything's coachable. I think that's the kind of the positive for him. For looking at O, and yeah, I think it's one that you just need to not, you say stick with in terms of, we're seeing loads of good stuff. I think the more opportunities he's given, the more of that you'll start to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really, really encouraging from him. There's definitely a lot to work with O. I think he's one of those blank canvases in which Brendan Rodgers can mould him into the player that he wants him to. He's still young enough to improve. Jurgen Klinsmann, and he was a very, very good striker in his day, seems to rate him very, very highly. Both him and Cho for the South Korea team. I know that Celtic were linked with both players at January. I think the links were more concrete with O than Cho. Easy to get the two names mixed up. But even Cho's a couple of years older than O, so yeah. you're getting that development, more of a development player in O, but there maybe is a bigger ceiling for him potentially. And I think in person, then maybe the TV doesn't do a good job of showing off O, but in person, you see what he's doing, you see his hard work, and you see how passionate he is to wanting to get into those areas, those goal scoring areas. Very, very concentrated. He doesn't get involved in any of the nonsense off the pitch or the anything to do with the referee. You know, even when he was waiting for the VAR to happen, he was basically just standing there waiting for the next move, regardless if it was going to get given or not. He did throw out his arms when the goal was disallowed, but he didn't remonstrate with the referee or anything like that. He wanted to get on with proceedings and get a goal because I think he knows how good his counterpart in Kyogo is. He knows that he won't get a lot of chances to start a game when Kyogo's getting a well-earned rest. And just looking at the top 5 shooters there, I mean, Kyogo's got 4 shots, O has 6. Kyogo only played for about half an hour, 20 minutes on Saturday, which is incredible. It shows just how, I mean, I know you've got to take the 10 men into account, of course, but he's busy, even when there's a depleted man in the opposition. He's desperate to get his shots on target. Don't know how he didn't score on the day, especially from a guy that we're going to be talking about in a couple of minutes, and Liam Scales put it on a plate for him with that sensational pass. It's like a quarterback pass. It's like something that Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes would have been quite proud of. Kyogo was the wide receiver in that instance, and he didn't put the finishing touch on. I mean, he did, but the goalkeeper was good to it and saved it. There was another pass as well from Scales to Turnbull. Why don't we go on to talk about Liam Scales? Because I've made the headline as Liam Scales currently Celtic's best defender. Now, I know that can be quite a big statement to make regarding a player that just came in and was basically a backup for a bit, and now he seems to be one of Celtic's main men, especially at the back. But performances recently, I think he's been, and I'll say this quite quietly because I know everybody loves Cameron Carter-Vickers, I actually think he's been outperforming his man as well. That might be down to Carter-Vickers just coming back from injury, but Liam Scales has been absolutely incredible. I'm just going to bring up he's the top 5 key passers in the game as well, because I think that's important to look at. I think Liam Scales, 2 of those 3 passes will be those shots or those passes that led to shots to Turnbull and Turnbull and Kyogo respectively. But the fact that Liam Scales is on every single one of these sort of metrics, near enough the top or in the top 5, shows how well the defender's playing. Surely a new contract must be in the offing for Liam Scales, you would imagine.
Yeah, I think so. He'd be thoroughly deserved. He just continues to kind of defy, doesn't he? You kind of, you know, even a game like that, you could probably take it easy as a centre back. You know, I know obviously him and Carter-Vickers on the ball loads, so you know they were going to be making plays and that kind of thing. But you know, it could have been easy just to kind of step off and just knock that ball into midfield and let McGregor, Bernardo, and Turnbull kind of. But you know, he took kind of responsibility in terms of shots and. Yeah, key passes are interesting as well. Kind of second for, I think Palmer would maybe be kind of higher XG in terms of one he had for Forest, but obviously less in terms of number of key passes. But
yeah, I think he had 1 or 2 because he didn't make the top 5.
Yeah, but I suppose I think Forest's chance was like 0.6. But just in terms of the highest XG other than Turnbull there, and a lot of Turnbull's probably coming from the corners. But yeah, creating high quality chances, like you said, like the Kyogo one. Yeah, I think in terms of the best defender, I think I think obviously Carter-Vickers got his injury issues just now, clearly in terms of he's not playing 2 games a week. I was chatting to you last night. I think they're a good partnership. I think that's what works really well with the two in terms of not just that left foot, right foot kind of you get that natural balance, but I think Scales is aggressive in most of what he does, particularly his defensive work. I think Carter-Vickers obviously he can do that too, but really good at kind of covering and being a kind of steady. I think you've seen midweek last week with Phillips, and that's hard for Phillips to come in. He's not played a lot of games, a new environment, but I think with Carter-Vickers alongside them, just really steady, and that can allow Scales to go and get on the ball and make things happen, especially against 10 men at the weekend. He had loads of those opportunities and he made the most of them. He was really effective, like you say, with it in terms of some of those his distribution from a back. So yeah, like you say, it just continues to defy. And I think at the moment it's him plus Carter Vickers and one other when Carter Vickers can't play. It's really, and like you say, it is just incredible when you think about where he was. Even
It's
those
a
last.
renaissance. It's a complete renaissance of a career. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Now, I know Brendan Rodgers the first time around, it revitalised a lot of careers that were maybe going down the drain, potentially under Ronnie Dyla. There was a few players that were heading for the exit door. You would assume James Forrest was one of them. He wouldn't have got to 15 consecutive seasons if it wasn't for Brendan Rodgers coming through the door the first time around. Scott Brown as well. He was picking up so many injuries. I remember in Ronnie Dyla's second season, but Brendan Rodgers knew how to work with him. He knew how to carry his load basically and changed him into this defensive midfield monster that dominated for a good 3-4 years, managed to elongate his career completely thanks to Brendan Rodgers. Now we're seeing that with other players. Is it happening with David Turnbull? Potentially. He's taking his chance at the moment. Liam Scales, it's definitely happening with him. Just shows you that Brendan Rodgers improves players. It might only be just a tad, but he improves them just enough to be noticeable in the starting 11. And Liam Scales was just desperate for that chance. I think he was desperate for that opportunity. It just so happened it came against St Johnstone, where he wasn't great, where he stayed on the ball too much, too many touches, but he managed to get that sorted for the game at Ibrox. And ever since the Ibrox game, I think he's been virtually he's played every single minute, I reckon, since that Ibrox game. He's not even been taken off, which shows you just how important he is to proceedings. I think he's having an incredible season so far, and if he can keep this up, I think he'll be one of the nominees for Player of the Year. If he can stay in the team for the duration. I know that Mike Nawrowski and Lagerbielke and Welsh will have something to say about that because they'll want game time in and around the season, but at the moment you can't drop him.
No, you can't. And I suppose you've spent a lot of money on those two centre backs you mentioned there. You don't expect them to, and they will get their chance again at some point. Clearly, whether it be injuries, suspensions, or just kind of rotation. But yeah, the Scales thing it's kind of one of the stories of the season from Celtic's perspective. You kind of think of many other kind of, maybe Ryan Christie was a kind of similar situation, especially talking about in relation to Rodgers. He was a player out on loan at Aberdeen, was well at the picture and gets his opportunity, and look at what he's gone on to do in his career now. So I think Rodgers probably sat Scales down and said, well, I've done this before for other players. Here's your opportunity. You obviously have to take that opportunity, but this is what's possible now because you've got this opportunity in terms of there was a huge amount of injuries, and yeah, he's certainly taking that opportunity, and yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see whether Nawrocki, particularly because he was the one that looked at Lagerbielke maybe a wee bit younger, a wee bit more development to do there, but certainly Nawrocki in terms of his pedigree before coming and the fact that he was kind of put in there with Carter Vickers, it'll be interesting to see. With the amount of games and stuff as well, like we're saying, I think he will get an opportunity in the next few weeks, and it's just who that's for and how he performs. But yeah, at the moment, Scales is completely, pretty much undroppable.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. Can I just tell you something which is absolutely incredible? When you look at those two players that you just mentioned, I just did a quick wee Google search there. Nawrowski is actually younger than Lagerbielke as well, which is even more. You wouldn't assume that given the way that the two play.
Yeah, I thought they were roughly.
Now, I know we've only got a small sample pool with Nawrowski, but we've watched him for Legia Warsaw in some games as well. But he is he plays beyond his years in those short cameos that he's made.
I think just in terms of his pedigree, I think, the fact he'd have been a full kind of, he'd come through Werder Bremen and had, he played in Europe with Legia Warsaw and stuff like that, whereas Lagerbielke he'd only kind of, I think he'd been on loan even the season before from Elfsborg. So I think it's interesting. I thought Lagerbielke was maybe slightly younger. I knew they were roughly, but
Yeah,
I think
Lagerbielke's 23 and
yeah,
Navrosky's 22. That's
I
it's quite
think from
incredible. I wouldn't believe that as well if I didn't have a wee look at
yeah,
that. I would have just assumed that Navrosky was a
yeah.
couple of years older.
I think from what we've seen, I think Navrosky is probably, further on in terms of his development and closer to, he'd be the one that would come back in and challenge. I think he was, he's I know Phillips has probably come in more and been kind of first choice, but maybe that's just a fitness thing. Rodgers clearly trusts Phillips to come in and do a job in the short term in terms of just kind of filling in. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Just interesting to see how that kind of plays out in the next few weeks. That kind of position.
Yeah, it's a great headache for Brendan Rodgers to have because I can't honestly remember the last time Celtic's defensive options were this deep. When Nat Phillips, who's appeared for Liverpool in the Champions League and during the lockdown season, he's basically having to play third fiddle to Scales and Carter Vickers. Navrosky can't even get in the side, and he was Celtic's biggest acquisition of the summer in terms of transfer fee. I think he was over 4 million, and he can't get a game. The only time he gets, he got quoted on the bench during the week, but he didn't get on the pitch, and I think they're just easing him back into proceedings. Could potentially be a free at the back with Scales playing as the left-sided centre back, Carter Vickers in the middle, and then Navrosky at the right. That could be something very, very interesting to look at in the future. But there's a reason why I made the title what the title is today is Liam Scales, currently Celtic's best defender. It is the most standout statistic or metric that I've seen from a player this season, I think, in terms of his passing. Now, as people will know on the Celtic Way, and you can subscribe at www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe, where I do match reports, stats bomb match reports after every single game, the most comprehensive stats pieces after every Celtic game on the internet. I've had a look. There's nothing that goes more comprehensive than the articles I do. I was 2,500 words yesterday writing about Celtic, which it's always better when Celtic win the game, but you won't find anything else like it on the internet. So I'm just going to bring up the passing network that Liam Scales had. Just the passing network for Celtic in general. But if you just look on the left-hand side for both the right-hand side, but the left-hand side of the defence for both the first and the second half, the one consistent player to get a warm colour or a really warm colour in terms of the amber, then red, is Liam Scales. Now, I need to have a look and see what the number was exactly that he got in the game, but it's absolutely incredible for on-ball value. Let me have a wee look. It was... So he had 114 passes that accumulated 0.75 in OBV, which is on-ball value, which is absolutely incredible. Stuart, see, for people that just maybe don't understand what on OBV is, or on-ball value as it's known as, would you be able to give a quick definition as to what that is?
Roughly, yeah. It's a kind of possession-based metric that kind of throws in loads of stuff to spit out a number, a value. So yeah, it's the kind of try to measure everything that's happening on the park. So obviously, all these metrics you've got, they're all kind of isolated. Whereas on ball values try to pull it all into the one to So higher on ball value is you're doing positive. You're progressing the ball, that kind of thing. And obviously stats bomb break down OBV into different areas, so you can get like shooting OBV, dribbling and carrying, and again that's just looking at kind of putting all those kind of metrics in the one kind of basket basically. It's kind of hard for just personally. Sometimes quite hard because these numbers. But I think always when you can see like number of key passes and that's generates that XG or whatever. Whereas this one's a wee bit kind of, a wee bit kind of abstract in a sense. But yeah, in terms of that number for Scales, that's And again, context.
I've never seen it that high in any of the.
Yeah, it's huge.
it's quite incredible. Yeah. He is basically playing that. The only player I can sort of compare him to in that sort of position is that specialist role that Trent Alexander-Arnold has for Liverpool, where he doesn't really need to defend as much and he can just play those balls into the box. There's a couple of passes on Saturday that Alexander-Arnold would have been quite proud of with the way he was just chipping it up and into an area. If Scales can get anywhere near that in terms of Trent's like accuracy and creativity, then I think Celtic will definitely be on to something. But it wasn't just skills that was good in terms of on-ball value. As you can see, both Yang and Palmer had good first and second half respectively. They're the smaller circles in the top left-hand corner for each. David Turnbull is right next to him on the right. And Greg Taylor as well had a good first half in that metric too. You see, the bigger the circle, the more passes they've made, contributing to the on-ball value. So Greg Taylor made a lot of passes in the first half, and that's why his circle's red, because he was doing so much good with the ball. Same for Dyson Maeda on the other side in the first half. Second half was a bit different. There was less people that were standing out with regards to on-ball value, but that was really the half for Liam Scales to really make a name for himself. He was the one player alongside Lewis Palmer that had a really good on-ball value for the second half, alongside Cameron Carter-Vickers as well, and Anthony Ralston, who has pushed further forward in that second half. As you can see, the circle has pushed just beyond the halfway line, which shows that he wasn't really defending in the second half. He didn't really need to defend. He was basically another winger helping alongside James Forrest and Dyson Maeda as well. And the on-ball value, the fact that they are quite colder in colours, maybe shows you that not Turnbull, Ralston was the better winger out of those three on the pitch rather than the two actual wingers. So it just goes to show you how connected Celtic were with their passing. I think the first half especially, which is the one at the top of the screen, shows how connected Celtic were in the game. Look at all the lines that are going between players. It shows that they're all connected. They're all in the one system. They know what they're all doing, and they were well deserving of more than the one goal that they scored in the first half. Thankfully, they got those two goals to make it a more comfortable contest in the second half and comfortable result. But overall, it was a really good performance, wasn't it, Stuart?
Yeah, that first half, that left-hand side, that kind of triangle of Yang, Turnbull and Taylor, yeah, really effective. There's some nice, and I think Yang, obviously I think Palmer kind of steals the show in the second half in terms of, you get the headlines for the amazing shot, the amazing goal and the good assist.
Speaking of that amazing goal.
No, I was just going to say I thought Yang was quite good as well, and obviously the time he was on the park as well. I think he's another one that's had maybe limited opportunities, but I think an encouraging cameo, an encouraging cameo, and then quite a good performance. I thought at Ross County. I think he's maybe getting a wee bit closer to getting more regular kind of opportunities as well. And yeah, we'll talk about Palmer. I mean, yeah, what
more do you need to say about this guy?
Yeah.
Honestly, he's a star. I think he's a star in the making. But I think that Yang is also a star in the making, but for a very different reason. I think there's definitely more to come from Yang. There's definitely more. I'd probably say, now this is, I don't know if I want to say this, but there's maybe more potential in Yang's game than Palmer, because I think we've seen more from Palmer early doors. We know what he is capable of, whereas I still think that Yang has a couple of levels to go up, which is really, really exciting. Just in the comments, I'm going to bring up two which show how much that Yang is splitting the opinion of the Celtic support. So Pete McGee comes in and says, thought Yang was good on Saturday, and then Plunge comes in and says, Yang was and is rotten. So he's one of these players that is definitely going to split the opinion. But I think so I was there at the game. I was there at Dingwall on Saturday watching him in person. Yang is absolutely fearless. It doesn't matter if he gives the ball away or puts the ball out of play. He's got that sort of Maeda mentality about him that he'll keep on going regardless if it's coming off for him or not. That'll bode well for him, because in some games more is going to come off for him than not, and he's going to get a couple of goals and assists to his name. We've already seen how good he is with assists at Aberdeen for Matt O'Reilly's goal, with the sort of turn, drag back and then pass into the box, which Matt O'Reilly expertly put away. But yeah, I think he's a very, very exciting young player. You've got to remember, he's played half of a season in Korea as well. They're probably managing his game time, which is why Palmer's getting more game time than Yang. But I think maybe if he wasn't called up for South Korea, it'd be the best possible thing, because he'll need that break in between. If he can get a break 2-3 weeks before coming back into the side for the second half of the season, then I think you'll really see him come to the fore. I'm really, really excited about Yang and what he can bring in the coming years. But I think there is definitely something special there with him.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you say, I think he maybe does have a higher, ceiling, for want of a better phrase, than Palmer. We know what Palmer can do already. We know it's going to be pretty effective, and certainly domestically anyway. And he's actually shown it on the European stage as well. But yeah, I think you can see what Palmer can and can't do. Whereas with Yang, you can see, especially when he's still young as well. He's got a bit of physical kind of development to do yet in terms of bulking up and things like that, because he's actually a decent enough size.
I think he's 5'10", 5'10",
yeah,
5'11".
so
He's
yeah,
a taller winger.
Can be pretty robust, and great feet, ability to kind of manipulate the ball really well in tight kind of areas and that sort of thing. Whereas Palmer's more kind of like I say, he knows what he's good at and he plays to those strengths. Whereas I think Yang, like you said, there's more to come, and he might have, he might be able to have, more parts to his game than Palmer, in a year or two's time. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because he was really kind of standing out. But then obviously, managing the squad, making changes, and Palmer comes on and kind of does what we've already seen a few examples of. But yeah, that was probably his most kind of special one in terms of just the way he strikes the ball and it gets the movement, get it up and over. It's just absolutely, it's a kind of super strength, isn't it? It's a kind of, yeah.
He's a marksman. Palmer's definitely a marksman from outside of the box. The power that he can generate on his shots. I didn't think he had that power on his shot because I watching his clips for Aris, a lot of his goals were very much like the one he scored against Motherwell, where it creeps in past the goalkeeper. He had that good strike against Kilmarnock the second time around, but this was a different one completely. This was one that I would associate more with Turnbull. Turnbull scored quite a similar goal against Motherwell a couple of seasons ago, where it goes up and down, where it loops up and down. But the strength that Palmer got on the shot, now it can be quite difficult to see on this graph, but to indicate how difficult this chance was, both in XG and post-shot XG, this was a 0.02 chance, a 0.02 opportunity when Palmer struck the ball. When the ball left his feet, it rose to 0.10, which is an increase, which means that the shot was good, but it's still a really, really difficult one to put away. You've got to just underline the quality that Palmer's got in those boots of his. That right foot is something to behold when he can get on the end of shots like that. He took a couple of touches to set himself, and then the shot just oozed quality and prestige. I said in my stats bomb report, but it was just such a high end strike from a player that the numbers don't lie about him. He's contributing in most games.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said in the Kilmarnock one, kind of deliberate in the way he's kind of getting the ball. He kind of got the ball up and over in that one. And again, same here. He's getting it. Starting it high. Bringing it down, giving keepers little to absolutely zero chance of getting near them, and then you've got the power as well. And then probably even more encouraging, kind of the assist for Forrest as well in terms of getting to the byline. And I know again, context 10 men, Tyrant, Ross County backline at that time, so probably as easy as he's going to get it to chop it onto the other foot and pick somebody out, but he still does it really effectively, and it's good it's so good composure there to pick out Forrest as well. It's a really nice kind of it's a pick out. It's not a kind of just a aimless kind of dink to the back post. So yeah, that was as encouraging as well, because like we said, we know we can do this kind of thing. It's more can he consistently create for others as well? Is it not just it's not just coming in off the right and try to bang one in the top corner? Can we like I kind of said in the piece I done on it last week, that's and at some I've seen a wee bit more in the last few games, that driving the outside, becoming a bit more unpredictable and not always coming in on the right foot. So yeah, that was encouraging for me, as obviously the shot looks that's so we'll watch football, watch amazing goals, but that was as encouraging for me, the fact that, again, context in terms of the game, state of the game, but a really good assist for Forrest as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a wee comment going on, just as a generalisation about statistics in football. Brian McGinty says that's why I don't look at statistics, because the same graphs are going to change from playing Ross County to Atletico Madrid. Sorry, not a fan. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion with regards to the statistics. I take it as a 50-50 view, because there's nothing that you've got to take 50% of it as the eye test in football, but the other 50% why things are happening, and statistics are a good help in all of that. Yes, the graphs will change, but that's because it's a completely different game and no two games are the same. The graphs are going to be quite skewed because of Ross County's 10 men for 80 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes when you add in all the added time in the game. But yes, it will change under Atletico Madrid because the game changes, because of the level of opposition that Celtic will be playing in the Champions League. The room for errors are shortened. They can't make errors, or Atletico Madrid will punish them, much like Celtic will punish mistakes that Ross County make in the game. So yeah, it's just it's all about opinions at the end of the day. We're just trying to bring a different sort of outlook onto things using the statistical data that's available to us. I realise that not everybody's a fan and people just want to watch what they see on the TV and on the screen, but I think it's a good guide as to what players are playing well and what players are not, because without Liam Scales' statistics that I looked at yesterday, I wouldn't have made the title that. I would have made it about Liam Scales, because this video was going to be about Palmer before I went into more detail about Scales' performance. But looking at those metrics, it was so important to highlight just how good Liam Scales was. He'll have been coming off that park thinking how good he was, and I'm glad that the stats have managed to go hand in hand with that. It was a truly brilliant performance, but a great performance from Palma as well. The low XG shows how difficult a shot it was. Laidlaw was in a good position, but he still couldn't get anywhere near it. So there was somebody in the comments section that was saying it was Ronaldo-esque. I'm presuming he means Cristiano Ronaldo with the up and down movement of the ball. I think we've seen him do that about 50 times for Real Madrid during his storied career at the other Madrid club. I know Celtic will be playing one of them, but that up and down shot, it's almost as if the ball was possessed, but it's just a great finish from Palmer.
Yeah, definitely, and it's just going to be effective and certainly domestically. He's going to get to these. He's going to get to plenty of these shooting opportunities, and not all of them are going to go in, but he's going to I think just that kind of, like I say, it's almost like a super strength. That it's a kind of almost kind of elite part of his game is that ball striking. If he had the athleticism, the speed, and everything else, chances are, unfortunately, he wouldn't be at Celtic. He'd be
Absolutely.
at the very top level. But that's what Celtic have to do in terms of recruitment. Finding these players that have got maybe they're really good in some areas, in other areas you can kind of work and build up, and then they're potentially they're going to contribute at a high level in terms of Champions League, which is the ambition, and then potentially you're selling these players on in a year or two time, or a couple of years time for profit, which is kind of the model. So yeah, really and again, like the kind of midfield, be interesting to see who kind of gets that nod alongside. You'd presume Maeda would start tomorrow night, but who gets that nod? Would it be Palmer or Yang? I think probably Palmer's. In fact, he's the one that's been on the bench. Probably suggests he's the one that's going to start tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think it's important to discuss tomorrow night, because we'll have today's morning briefing, then tomorrow we'll have tomorrow's morning briefing with Tony and I, and then we'll have the pre and post match. It's coming thick and fast. It doesn't feel as if Celtic played. It feels as if Celtic played yesterday, given the turnaround of everything, but. They're back in action. It's the most difficult game in the group, I would say, going to Atletico Madrid at the Wanda Metropolitano. But at the same time, it's an opportunity for Celtic to really take a massive scalp in the group. Celtic know that they need to get a win to realistically keep their qualification hopes alive. It's win or bust. I'd say that probably for third place as well as second in the group now. Second's a bit of a pie in the sky, a bit of a pipe dream, but. Yeah, I think if Celtic are looking to get out of the group and continue with football after Christmas in Europe, then they're going to need to take something from the game. A draw at the very worst, but if they can get a win, and I know that is a very, very big ask, then a win would be absolutely perfect, because then it makes that Lazio game, depending on the result between Feyenoord and Lazio, you're probably wanting Feyenoord to win that game, because then you want the head-to-head against Lazio at their stadium in Rome. So, yeah, if Celtic could pull something out of the hat and get an amazing win away from home at Atletico Madrid, it'd be absolutely incredible, and it would make match day 5 and 6 all the more interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's a big ask, but yeah, even any kind of result, at least, would be a huge result in itself, and it would just about keep it alive in terms of, if you could get a draw, you can go to Lazio and really go kind of toe to toe with them and try and get a win that then kind of propels you, gives you that opportunity in that last game to stay in some form of Europe. Like say, probably not second. You're probably looking at that third spot. But yeah, I mean, you've seen the quality. I mean, even how well Celtic played in the game at Celtic Park. There was plenty, examples of their absolute top quality. And the worry is, you're going away, so they're going to have that advantage there. But I think they lost on Friday night. I think
they did against Las Palmas.
I watched a wee bit of the goals back this morning. I think it was 2-1. And the kind of goals that they've conceded have kind of come from turnovers, losing the ball and not losing the ball in build, but Las Palmas managing to, turn the ball over in kind of good areas high up the pitch and going at getting at them, because we've seen that at Celtic Park, Witsel, guys like that. Savic maybe not the quickest. I think they can be got at. So you kind of hope is, can Celtic keep compact like they've shown in some of the games in Champions League as well? We're going to have to defend for large periods. If you can do that, I think there will be opportunities on the or on the break, or if you can turn the ball over in good areas. It's just, can you keep it down? Because I guess Morata, I think that gets a goal for them. It comes from a really good cross. He's going to be a huge danger. So, yeah, I think there's, I'm not saying it's going to be a brilliant chance of getting a result, but I think there's a kind of route to a result there for Celtic. I think Rodgers will feel that too. And that maybe we'll catch them at maybe just a good wee point that they'll have had the extra day recovery, but that's not a great result for them going away to Las Palmas and losing. And like I say, looking at the 2 goals, you think maybe there is a wee bit of an opportunity here for Celtic on Tuesday night. If we can, like I say, they'll need to stay compact and do the kind of the other side of the game really, really well to then have that opportunity to make the most of those moments. But I think there will be moments, and yeah, it'll be interesting again in terms of not just but in terms of that structure. We've seen the back 3 for a wee bit against when it matched up at Celtic Park. Whether he'd start with that, I'm not sure, but that'll be interesting to keep an eye on as well.
It'll be interesting to see who Atletico Madrid go with in the midfield, because obviously Rodrigo de Paul got the second yellow in the game, so he'll be suspended for the game. I would assume, I'm not sure about their other defensive midfielders, maybe Witsel would maybe move up one and go in the defensive midfield role. I know they've got quite a lot of reinforcements at centre-back position. I'm not sure about the situation with Jose Jimenez, but he is one of the best centre-backs in the world, in my opinion. If he is fit and available for them, then I think he'll definitely be playing. He's a Uruguayan stalwart. He's always in that Uruguay team. He's a very, very good central defender. But Rodrigo de Paul, he's a World Cup winner with Argentina. He had a really good career at Udinese before joining Atletico Madrid, so he's got that experience, but unfortunately he won't be able to use that experience tomorrow night because he'll be watching from the stands. So that's a bit of a moral victory, or a bit of a team victory for Celtic to begin with. I know they've got loads of world-class players all over the pitch. Saul, Naguif, Koke, they've got Morata and Griezmann up front. I don't know about Memphis Depay. Is he still injured, I reckon?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I was just going to say Marcos Llorente. He didn't start either on Friday
he came
night,
on and he was Atletico's best player in the game.
Kind of best player, like ridiculous kind of.
He might start. He might start tomorrow night. That would be maybe not a like for like, because he was playing a more attacking role. But yeah, it would be interesting to see where they go with regard to their team. Just in terms of Celtic's team, we could talk about that midfield. The midfield is definitely an interesting place, because Turnbull's got 2 goals in his last 2 games. A really good performance last time out against Ross County. Paulo Bernardo had a really good performance against Atletico Madrid in the reverse fixture when Hatate came off injured after about 5 or 6 minutes. Assuming that 2 of those 3 spots are already spoken for with regards to McGregor and O'Reilly, I think those 2 will definitely play. O'Reilly just comes straight back in. He was only rested at the weekend, so he knows that he's going to have a lot of defending to do in that midfield if he's running about. Callum McGregor, you know what you're going to get from him in a 90-minute showing. So there's only one place that's available. For you personally, who do you think that will be? Who would you want it to be, and who do you think that will be?
I want it to be Rio Hatate, but
now everybody knows in the morning briefing that Hatate's my favourite player to watch, and I would be desperate for him to be playing because he breaks the lines. It's the guile, it's the agility, it's the shots from range, it's the passing ability. Unfortunately, he's injured for the next 2 months. And a very, very stop-start. It's almost as if Celtic have had that, they've made it a bit easier for other teams by the fact that Celtic can't have arguably the most creative midfielder. The biggest risk taker in the midfield, I know O'Reilly's numbers are incredible, but the biggest risk taker, I think the star quality has been out for so long in this. We've kind of been teased with that wee period, the Kilmarnock game where he was absolutely sensational. He ran the show almost single-handedly. O'Reilly took a back seat for that. We've only really had that, and then he gets injured again in his next appearance. So it is disappointing, but it's an opportunity for a player. Just going back to your point, so in terms of players that are injured, I know you want it to be Hatate, but in terms of players that are available, who do you want it to be?
And back to reality, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and it's not to say that not the other guys are not capable of coming in and performing. I think it'd probably be Bernardo just for that kind of off-ball stuff. Again, it kind of depends, obviously. I'd be surprised if we would start with the back 3, but, if there was ever going to be a game that you probably would do that in this kind of group stages, it probably would be this game. And the fact that he went to it towards the end of the game at Celtic Park maybe does suggest there's at least a chance that he starts with that. So that then kind of changes the rest of the kind of makeup of the team and how you would maybe just need the kind of 2 there, because you can maybe go with Maeda with Kyogo through the middle. But if it's the 4-3-3 as we've kind of just been kind of standard, I think it's probably Bernardo. I think he was, again, really hard on Saturday to take too much from the game in terms analysis wise, but I thought he was okay again. I think his probably strengths would be more that he'll be able to get about and he'll be able to, get close to their midfield, get pressure on. So yeah, I'd probably if it's that standard kind of what we've seen this season, then it would probably be him. I think that we'd get the nod, but Turnbull again done kind of nothing wrong certainly on Saturday. So but yeah, I think it would be Bernardo, and we've not really spoken much about home, but he had done a really encouraging kind of cameo at the weekend off the back of setting up all for the one against St Mirren. So, and I think he's got a lot to offer in Europe in terms of off the ball as well. But it's just obviously it's maybe just still a bit too early to be throwing him into games like this from the start anyway. So given off the back of the Feyenoord getting the red card and stuff. So yeah, I think it'll be Bernardo if it goes as it is, and yeah, I think it's still quite early or it's quite hard to make a full assessment of him at this time, I think. But he's certainly he's getting the game time, and hopefully if it is him that gets a nod, then he can, I think he's more than capable, like I say, that off playing off, being able to contribute off the ball, because we're going to have to, we're going to have to be really disciplined, especially in that middle of the park. So yeah, I think it'd be him.
Yeah, definitely does look like Matt O'Reilly when he plays on the pitch as well, in terms of his lankiness as well as his hair colour as well. It's difficult. It's sometimes difficult to put them or differentiate between the two of them. Thankfully, it was just Bernardo that was playing on Saturday, which made it obvious that it was number 28 and not number 33 that was playing. I've been quietly impressed with Bernardo. You know, those pressures, that pressure number, I think it was 44 against Atletico Madrid in the reverse fixture, was, you know, a very much a standout statistic for the player, a player that's just getting used to playing for Celtic. I think he's a player for the long term. It'll be interesting to see if Celtic do part with some money and get him permanently. You know, I think it's all about what he does off the pitch as well as on it, much like what Edward did. You know, Edward was just as good in training as he was with his performances on the pitch, and that's the reason why Celtic paid over 9 million. Or they parted ways with 9 million to bring him to Celtic. But if Paulo Bernardo is doing it in training and showing that he's got that level to keep on improving, then Celtic, I think, will go and buy him, because there's no point in him being on loan, getting loads of game time, and then not signing him permanently. If he's acclimatised well, then Celtic should go and sign him on a permanent deal. What that means for the midfield is that maybe somebody leaves the club, you know, and I don't want to say this too early, but, you know, you're sort of Matt O'Reilly or Rio Hatate, but you're already seeing the next generation coming through here. Yes, it was great to see those two players get extended deals, and Hatate and O'Reilly, but you're seeing the next generation, Bernardo and Holm. Turnbull could maybe be a part of that as well if he stays, although with 6 months left in his deal, he's going to have to get something sorted quickly, or he can speak to other clubs. If that is the case, then, you know, I think Celtic will use him very sparingly if he does decide to move on, because Celtic have got to keep themselves right. You know, there's got to be that continuity for next season. I think it's the same for Nat Phillips. He'll be brought in when necessary, but if there's a chance to play permanent players, then they should be there, because they're going to be there next season. You've got to get that experience for going into Europe next season, because that's the only way they're going to improve, isn't it?
Yeah, could be a lot of change in that midfield, like end on a downer. But, you know, and
you can see the next generation coming through.
The club have protected themselves in terms of, you know, long-term deals for O'Reilly, Hatate. Just talking about those two specifically, but yeah, I think Turnbull, maybe if he was to move on home, you'd imagine whether he'd be in a position to, you know, if somebody was to move on, to then play consistently, you know, week in, week out next season. Maybe, you don't know, but they're depending how things kind of move. You know, a lot can happen between now and next summer, but there may well be a position there to bring in a midfielder, and if you've had someone like Bernardo, who you've seen enough of that you like, he's acclimatised enough to the club and how the manager works and all that stuff, and if he can get a reasonable kind of deal, then that would maybe make sense. So yeah, I think it's hard to, you know, to see how things will kind of pan out that far ahead, but that would kind of be, you know, his kind of goal between now and the end of the season, is to show enough that if it does come to that, there needs to be a decision made on, you know, we go and bring in another midfielder if it's Turnbull that, you know, doesn't sign a new deal, or if someone does, you know, come in with a huge amount of money for somebody, then that he's in a position to say, you know, like, I can fill a role here. So yeah, I think that'd be his goal, and he's certainly getting opportunities just now, and it's just be about making the most of them for him.
Yeah, absolutely. All these players have got to take their opportunity when it comes. Oldenholm certainly has in the past 2 games. Very unlucky not to break his goal scoring duck for Celtic. It was a great save from Laidlaw from a lovely sort of chipped ball from Oldenholm. It would have been a great goal if that was the case. I realise that we've been going on for 58 minutes. You know, time flies when you're talking about statistics, for sure. So thank you very much once again, Stuart, for coming on the show this morning. I'm sure everybody's enjoyed listening to the statistical analysis. I know it's a very much a divisive subject, but we're trying to bring something different to the briefings in certain days with regards to the statistics and how players played on a stat sheet rather than just how they looked on the pitch, because it's a good guideline and it can help show where players are maximising their strengths and maybe other places where their weaknesses are getting shown. But thank you very much, Stuart, for joining me today. I'm just going to bring the sponsor back up for today's video. Let me see. I should have brought that up earlier, but due to the fact that there was those graphs that were getting cut off, I took it away. Thank you once again, as always, to MPH Group for sponsoring all of our videos, both the morning briefing and the pre and post match videos, and our pre-recorded videos whenever they come out. The video, of course, was brought to you by MPH Group, which was Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trade specialist covering all of mainland Scotland. Every service you opt for automatically enters you into MPH's incredible holiday giveaway. You could win a 7-night stay at the luxurious 5-star Moon Palace Resort in Cancun, Mexico. They have a winter deal available regarding boiler installation for just $1,795, which includes a free Hive thermostat, free first-year service, up to 12 years of warranty, a magnetic filter included, and flexible finance options for as little as £5 per week. So if you're looking for plumbing, heating, kitchens and bathrooms, as well as Navien boilers, please check out MPH Group's group. All of the links are in the description below, from their contact number to their website to all of their social medias as well. And once again, just before we finish, guys, please subscribe to the Celtic Way website if you haven't done so already. Currently we're running a £4 for 4 months deal that's been going on for quite a while, but we're still keeping it going. By doing that, you'll be supporting top quality football journalism covering the club you love. If you visit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe, on there is my stats bomb piece from yesterday, in which we used all the graphics for. On there later on today, there will be a stats piece regarding Oh Hyung-Yu from Stewart. Stewart, if you just want to go on and talk about that for a wee bit, just the report that's coming on later on today.
Yeah, I probably gave a wee bit too much earlier. Yeah, but just kind of
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, no, I kind of touched on some of the things, just kind of breaking down, kind of those key moments in terms of, like I say, that Roger's talking about simplifying his game, just those kind of how he was kind of doing that on Saturday, just kind of picking out those kind of key moments. And yeah, taking a look at the kind of the data and stuff as well. Because yeah, I think the only thing I didn't say at the time was, he highest for XG, but his post-shot XG was a wee bit lower. So I think that's probably, that finishing, and that's what you're going to get with a young striker. That will come in time, hopefully. But yeah, just kind of digging into that, and what his performance kind of says about where his kind of standing in the squad, and I think. Talking kind of touching on kind of the squad kind of management and stuff again, whether another strikers on the list, there were links to the a couple during the summer that never quite came off, but that would be kind of will be interesting to see what if someone else comes in there. But yeah, just kind of digging into his performance at the weekend, and hopefully adding a bit more kind of insight into it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to have a second choice striker that's definitely contributing to things, because it's very much been a one-man show for the past 4 or 5 months of the season. So that goal against St Mirren was absolutely massive for him. Thank you once again to everybody in the comments. We tried to bring up as many as we could, but with stats and talking about the statistic, we did a wee bit less than usual. But thank you once again to everybody that's been involved. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow to discuss everything to do with the preview regarding Atletico Madrid. Will then be live with a match lineup reaction, and then a pre-match and post-match as well. So please stay tuned for then. Until then, thank you very much, Stuart.
Thanks so much. Really enjoyed that.
And thank you, and cheers, guys, for joining us. We'll see you at the same time tomorrow. Cheers, guys.